Okay, so now I've created a blank template project that's set up for me to start sampling some stuff. So before I actually start to sample the suspense builds, what I want to do, there is a way that I can configure my sampling to make it a lot easier, so I only have to press one button. Normally you see we have 3 record buttons here: record 1, record 2, and record 3. Record 1 is linked to inputs A and B, and record 2 is linked to inputs C and D. We have 2 sets of stereo inputs, and we can use the record 3 button to do internal resampling, which is extremely useful and we'll look at a little bit later. But normally what I'd have to do is whatever track that I want to start sampling to, whatever track recorder I want to record to, I'd have to hold that button and then press the record button to do it. And I'd rather just be able to just press record. I can set that up pretty easily. In order to do so, I have to go back into my project settings. So let me press my project button. And basically what I want to go to, let me move over here to the main menu. And I want to go into the personalize menu, which is in the system area. So I'll go over here, go down, personalize, press yes. Quantize live record is a good option to have on, and I'm going to leave that on as well. This just means that as you're playing your samples in real time, it'll quantize that stuff to the sequence. I can always loosen up the timing after the fact if I want to. But as I scroll down, I will see the last option says record quick mode. And by default, this is not on. I want this to be on so that when I want to start recording, all I have to do is just press the record button. I don't have to also hold down the track button. So just throwing it out there, might be something you want to enable. So let me go ahead and back out. All right. So I have to the left of my Octatrack, it's off screen, but trust me, it's there. I have my trusty little SP404, and I have some drum samples loaded on here that I'd like to record and sample into my Octatrack. Now, if I start playing some samples on my SP404, I can see that the meter above record 1 is lighting up, but I don't hear anything. If I want to be able to hear the inputs that are going into my Octatrack, I need to go to the mix page and make sure that I've turned the inputs up. In the mix page, I can see I have the main volume and the Q volume. We have 3 boxes here, and not 3, there's 6 boxes, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. And these are linked to my 6 knobs over here. So I see DIR on the top and DIR on the bottom in the middle. This is for the direct input. The top input is for A and B. The bottom is for C and D. So my SP404 is going into inputs A and B. So I'm going to adjust this knob here to turn up the input for that. Okay, now I'm hearing something. Cool. So like I said, I want to record some of the sounds I have here. It's just a bunch of just one-shot drum sounds. But I have some different effects that I can apply to these sounds, and if I record them all to one sample, it's very easy to chop these up on the Octatrack, so I think that might be cool. Now, when I'm ready to sample, what I want to do is first make sure that everything is set up properly. So I want to go to the Record 1 setup page, and I can see below the Record 1 button, setup is written in white. If I hold the function button and press record, this will bring me to the setup page. So in the setup 1 page, I can set up what the inputs are. And I don't want to record from input C and D, so I'll use this middle knob to turn that off. Again, we see the screen corresponds to the 6 knobs over here. R length is the record length, and if it's set to max, then I can use the maximum time that's allotted to my record buffers. And actually, that's probably one more thing I should point out too. Let's back up a bit. Before we sample anything, I want to make sure that I have the correct amount of RAM allotted to my record buffers. As I said before, the Flex machines use the RAM in the Octatrack, and the RAM is limited. So you can set it so that there's a certain limit that is allocated to the record buffers to make sure you have enough room for samples. Or you can make it so that the RAM is not limited and you can use as much of it as you want for samples or for sampling. So let me go into the project menu here. And before we get started, because when you change this, it erases the record buffers, and I don't want to have that be an issue. So I'm going to go into the control area, and we're going to go down to memory. Let's hit yes. So the Flex format, by default, your samples are 16-bit. If you want, you can make these 24-bit. It'll take up more space, but again, you'll have a little bit more headroom on your samples. I'm gonna leave this at 16-bit. Dynamic recorders. Now, when this is set to no, there is a certain amount of memory, like I said, that's allocated for samples that you load into the Flex machines and for the record buffers to record audio into the Flex machines. If I set this to yes, then that means that the track recorders and the Flex machine slots can use as much RAM as there is available. There's no limit until you run out of the overall RAM. Okay, now that that's done with, I'm going to get out of here. Yes. Playback will be stopped. Unsaved record buffers will be lost. See, this is why I did this before we started sampling. Yes. All right, now let's sample something. I'm going to go back into my record one setup page, function, press record. I'm going to resample from inputs A and B. The record length, I'll leave that set to maximum for now. The trig right here, this determines basically the behavior of starting and stopping the recording. Your options are 1, which means that when I hit the record button, it'll start recording. If I press the record button again, it'll start recording and basically record over what I did before. If I have this set to 1, 2, when I press the record button, it starts recording. I press the record button again, it'll stop. And if I have this set to hold, then I have to hold the button down for as long as I want to record. So I'm going to set this to 1, 2. And that's pretty much it for now. I have the loop setting here, which means that when I record something, it's automatically going to enable the loop. I don't really need that for now, so I'll do this. Okay, so now time to sample. So I have these drum sounds, and I think I'd like to maybe use a little bit of an effect. All right, so when I'm ready, all I have to do now, again, I made it so that I just have to press the record button. When I press this, you'll see a plus button next to the F. Right now it's set to stop. This track is stopped. So when I press this, you'll see that it's recording, and we'll go from there. So here we go. Okay, so now I'm ready to stop recording. I'm going to press the record button again, and it stops. So now I want to see what I've recorded and start to kind of edit this. When I'm ready to look at what I've sampled and edit, I can go into the AED, the audio editor. Once I press this, now I can see the audio that I've recorded. If I want to hear it, I can hold function and press yes in order to play it. All right, so now that we sampled something, let's look at how we can edit this and start to do something with it.